Money doesn't just come from one place. It drips, trickles, flows, and floods into our lives in different ways. Welcome to Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood, a podcast that explores the power of multiple income streams. We've got merch. That's right. Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood t-shirts are officially here, and they're as comfy as they are conversation starting. Grab yours at the link in our show notes. Hey, Tony, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Melissa?
I'm doing well. It's a little bit of a gloomy day out. Gary took the dogs to the park this morning, and my little dog was like, I just want to go back to bed.
Yeah, I haven't gone outside yet, but I'm going to soon. My friend's going to come over later. We're going to go kick it, and then we're going to play Bocker ball.
What's that?
I don't even know. It's foosball meets marbles. And so basically it's this, people should look it up. It's hysterical. And so basically you have a soccer ball, it's like the size of a foosball. And you have all these slots and you drop all these little ball bearings down all these slots, and you have to try to knock the ball in the other person's goal while they're dropping it. And it is, the way we play, at least, it is just sheer chaos. And it's pretty funny. And you should look it up. You can't find these games hardly anywhere. I found one locally, or Lindsay found it and sent it to me. I'd never even heard of the game. And then we just found one in Ohio where we happen to have a friend. And so my friend went and bought the game, and she's going to ship it out. So now my buddy's going to have one too.
This whole yard game niche is very interesting to me. It's like hunting down the games. So Bocker ball. So instead of soccer, it's
Yeah,
Bocker.
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Interesting. Okay, everybody can look that up. Today we're talking about not Bocker ball. We're talking about how to have multiple income streams or multiple streams of income without burning out, which is also chaotic. Having lots of streams of income can feel quite chaotic. This is something that I know I personally am asked or spoke to about from clients, friends, etc., where they feel that while the idea of having multiple streams of income is good, they don't feel that their brain, their schedule, their energy really is conducive to it. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, Tony. If somebody says, I don't think I can deal with more than one, that would be too stressful for me. What would you say?
Yeah. And one of the most common questions I get is, how do you possibly do so many things? And part of it is how you're wired, but I think part of it is choosing what those extra things are. For example, the coaching that I do at the local junior high, it's time. It's definitely a time commitment. It takes time. It's not like you're not going there to get rich. That's for sure. It's a lot of hours, but it's very life giving. It's not like it's life taking. I don't leave practice and be like, oh man, I need a drink, or I need to go just sit on the couch and watch. Usually I come out of practice and I'm pretty jacked and I have energy to go do whatever's next in the day. So if whatever that extra thing is life-giving instead of life-taking, you might be able to create some extra income and not have it feel like it's an extra piece. Not
That's a
everybody
great
has
point.
that opportunity though.
That's a great point. I hadn't really considered as like the reward of it. So it's like, how rewarding is this stream of income? That's a great point, because some streams may be so rewarding that it's almost like you would do it for free, right? It's something that's just so meaningful to you. So then most likely, energetically, even if it's tiring, it's still going to in some ways light you up. So I think that's actually a great way to evaluate, is this a stream that I even want to be a part of my drip, trickle, flow, and flood?
Yeah. And I still coach for free, and I've coached for free probably more than I've coached to get paid. So yeah, it is great. I was actually surprised the first time I got paid to coach. So I think that's one piece, but another option is just doing it in a way that isn't so draining. I have a lot of different things going, and I actually just added someone to my world to help me do the pieces that I'm not as good at. in an effort to be able to keep doing the things I'm excited about. Hopefully, they're generating income, and it is saving me a lot of time where, this person probably going to do things faster and better than it would take me as I'm clunking around trying to make my website look good.
Yes, that is a great point. The outsourcing, the systems that you have can make this multiple stream of income life really sustainable. I'm the same way. I brought on somebody recently to help with various things, and it has been so great because they can just take the reins and things are working, and it's a noticeable very quickly, it's been a noticeable shift in profit too, which has been very nice. So that is always available to everyone. I think also something I notice is aligning expectations can be a challenge for different folks. We talk about here the drip, trickle, flow, flood method, which means that not everything, not every income stream is a flow or a flood, and it's not intended to be. And that doesn't mean that one day it can't be or that you don't have a dream for that to be. That's totally fine, but you do need to adjust those little puzzle pieces accordingly and also just align your expectations with the effort that you're able to put in. So a lot of times what I will see is that someone is interested in having multiple streams, but they want all of those streams to be profitable very quickly, to take off right away. And so then they are treating all of those streams as a flow, right? They are energetically they're putting in their energy, they're putting in their time, sometimes their money or investment in order to make that a flow as quickly as possible. And that I think is just a racetrack to burnout when you're doing that. That is really tough to do, to create 3 different streams, let's say, for example, and to want all of them to be a flow right now or in the next 6 months. That's tough.
Yeah, and I think with managing that expectations, looking at when you have time and where you can spend that time. On the last episode, we were talking about the holidays, and we spoke briefly about it can be a time to make money if you're selling at markets or whatever. And so maybe you can time things to say, okay, I know I'm going to have to push for 4 weeks or something, but if there's light at the end of the tunnel, it's a lot easier to push for that period of time. In November, I had 4 writing deadlines, which is more than I would normally have in a month, but one of the publications asked me to write 2 pieces, and it was a lot of work, but I knew there was light at the end of the tunnel. I knew I just had to push through, get those pieces done, and that December wasn't gonna be as busy on that front because one of the magazines is bi-monthly and the other one is quarterly. They just all happen to line up, and so that's the other thing is these side things or these side hustles or getting a new venture going and creating a drip or a trickle doesn't have to be an all the time kind of thing. Maybe it's one of those things that you can do seasonally
Mm.
or once a month, something like that. I have a friend, and she in the past has grown a lot of flowers, and she's ended up at markets, done different things. A lot of that work is when you need to be gardening, and I don't exactly know when that is, and so it was very seasonal. She knew she was gonna have to work really hard during the planting time and harvesting time, and then she would go to markets and stuff. So planning whatever the thing is with how your world works, whether that's a couple hours a week year round, or maybe it's 40 hours during the holidays.
That's a great point. The seasons of earning is a good thing to consider. I actually did this myself, or I do this, but I'll walk through how I did it this year. I knew that certain books in a category that I write in under a pen name do very well over the holidays. So I wanted to come out with 5 books by the end of the year. And these are short books, by the way. I'm not writing full length. So if for anybody that's what is happening, they're short, they're little novellas. So I wanted to come out with 5 books by the end of the year, set that goal for myself, which meant that I am in a heavy season of earning because not only did I need to write the books, get them all prepared for publishing, I also needed to put together and execute all of the marketing for the books. And so there's a lot that goes into that. But I went into it very intentionally because I knew I could really amplify my sales around the holidays, and it's absolutely 100% working. On a different side of my business, I do, which I talked about in a previous episode, I do some content creation, user generated content, brand deals, things like that. And I know because I have worked in the agency space for almost 20 years now that most of the time agencies blow their Q4 budget very quickly. And you often do that because you certainly never want to go back to your client and be like, "Oh, shrug, we didn't spend it," because then they're not going to get want to give you that budget again. So you're always trying to like spend out your budget quickly so that you can get a renewal of that budget for the next year or hopefully even more budget for the next year. So because of that, as a content creator, it can sometimes be tough to get work around this time because budgets have already been pre-spent for that reason. And so you just take that into mind. So for me, I've been focusing all my energy on gearing up for 2026. So getting in the conversation for as soon as that 2026 budget hits so that they know to come back to me. So for me, that means outreach and pitching and saying, "Hey, for your 2026 plans, here are some ideas that I have for this brand. I would love to be on your creator list." And then, so it's been a great time to do that. And even through that, I've ended up getting some 2025 jobs just because they'll be like, "Oh, oops, we forgot to do that ad. We really need somebody quickly to like star in this ad or record this ad for us." So that's been great. But ultimately, that wasn't why I did it. Why I'm doing it is because I know agency cycles and their seasons of earning. So because that's how I'm being paid, I need to match their season of earning. So it's just something to think about for everybody out there with different businesses. And what is your season of earning? And when do you want to ramp things up? And when do you want to slow things down? Or when do you want to ramp up a certain income stream versus another? That can help to alleviate burnout.
Yeah, I think understanding the why of that specific income is also important. Is this money that your family needs to live off of? Sometimes it's you grit and bear it and you've got to just push through, and yeah, it might be stressed. You might be a little stressed out and tiring, but you know that the long-term results are going to be worth it. Or this it is extra money and it's probably not worth burning yourself out if getting started in it if you get started in it and you get burnt out super fast, then the overall value of whatever that extra piece was is very small. Where if you go into it in a more tempered manner that's going to allow you to maintain that for a long period of time, then your overall return on that effort and just whatever that idea is probably going to be much more dramatic. Not everybody is going to be cranking out 5 books for the holidays. You talk about it's only 5 little novellas. I've published exactly 1 book. And so that's very impressive that you're doing that. But it's all about you planned that and you executed it based off how, your cognitive resources that you're going to have and the time and understanding how you work. I know that I can only produce so many articles a month because I can only write at certain times. When my brain gets going and the world wakes up and I get all hyper, there's no writing to be done for me. I'm too jacked up. And so there's only so many moments throughout a month that I am actually calm enough to sit down, write that article. So I think understanding that and then having income streams that diversify that, for me, it's great. If I have an article to write in the morning and then I get to go run around with a bunch of junior high kids in the afternoon, that's a great balance for me of how my brain operates and how my body functions.
That's a great point too. It's like your emotional, mental bandwidth can really help to alleviate burnout. It's like the capacity math of it all. So when you know that when you wake up you're drawn to a certain type of work versus later in the day, then you can adjust your streams of income accordingly, your expectations accordingly to that. So I do a similar thing. I try to assign a number to different activities that I'm doing and how much bandwidth that costs. And I'm putting that in like quotes. Certain things just drain me more than others. Like you said, you're going to tap out at some point when you're writing articles. That doesn't mean you don't love it. It just means that it's going to take up certain brain space. There are certain things that I do to earn money that are all of them are enjoyable, but some can be quite draining. Like I find when I do on camera work, for example, I enjoy it, but it's draining for me. And so I can only do so much with it in a day or within a week without that like having a negative effect on the other side. So I really try to temper that with things like writing, which I have pretty much unlimited capacity to write. I think that's just by nature of my background being a screenwriter, where you don't really have that any control over your schedule. And if someone wants a page one rewrite and you have 24 hours or 48 hours to do it, you've got like, oh, well, shrug. Try telling Sony or Netflix no when you're under contract. So I think I've just been conditioned to that. So actually, when I write, I rarely get drained because I'm so used to having to crank and crank fast and crank good. Because like you won't survive Los Angeles, you won't survive the film industry without that. And so that doesn't take a lot of capacity for me. So everybody is different though, right? Like you could see between Tony and I, we're completely different. Like how I might respond to writing is different to him. He has way more physical energy than me. My husband is the same way. I feel like I get exhausted just looking at the two of you. So everyone just has different capacity for energy. And I think that's a great way to evaluate when you're looking at your multiple streams of income. Like, how much energy does that act really take from you? And be honest about that.
So you said capacity math. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that? I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard it as a term or if it's just somehow gave it to me. So I don't want to take credit for it. However, I honestly have no idea. Like it came to me today, but then I'm like, did someone tell me that years ago? Potentially. So let me not take credit for it. But the way that I think about capacity math is like how you calculate your weekly emotional and mental bandwidth so that you don't get overloaded. The way that I think about it is in my drip, trickle, flow, flood. I assign everything that I'm doing in that framework a number from 1 to 5. So it's like, how much capacity do I generally have to write these books? So that's always going to be for me about a 4 or 5 because it doesn't drain me very much. It doesn't really take a lot. It doesn't mean I don't put energy into it, but it doesn't drain my energy. Versus, like I mentioned earlier, when I'm on camera, when I'm filming, for whatever reason, that does feel draining to me. Although I find it enjoyable, I have a max. So much like you do with your writing, Tony. So I would give that like a 2. So then when I'm trying to figure out how much time I want to give to all of these pieces of my drip, trickle, flow, flood, I make sure that I look at that and say, oops, that takes a lot of capacity from me. And so I want to be very careful. Like that's draining my energy reserves. So I need to make sure that does that even belong in the flow category? Should that be a trickle? If it is a flow, I need to be very careful that it doesn't creep into my other flows because that means I'll be too drained to do those. So I just map everything out like a little puzzle and try to figure out, okay, if this week is a really heavy filming week for me, then that means I'm really going to strip back on other activities that I'm doing because I won't have energy reserves for those things.
So you're actually looking at your ROI of each of those numbers and saying, this is how this would fit into my drip, trickle, flow, flood. And if one of the numbers, maybe the income off of 2 is not enough, you say, well, maybe that shouldn't be one of my income streams. Maybe I need to replace it with, it either needs to make me more money or it needs to be a 3 or a 4 to justify the amount of time that I'm allotting to it.
Exactly. Yep. It may not belong in my drip trickle flow flood at all, or it needs to stay a trickle. Like
Yeah.
it just needs not to move to the flood category. Or if it's moving to the flood category, or I'm sorry, flow category, not flood, flow category, then generally that means I'm in a season of earning for that particular income stream. So I treat it like a season, and I don't mean a whole season, like all of fall, all of winter. I will generally think of it like I'm just in a season, meaning maybe these 2 weeks I'm going to completely devote to this thing because I know I can. And I know it's going to be draining, but it will also be rewarding at the same time. And it's going to be meaningful for the income goal I'm trying to reach. But I go into it with that mindset so that I don't come out of it going, why am I so burnt out? Like I'm so burnt out, I can't do anything. I go into it with the mind of this is going to make me tired. So that means that I have to strip those other things off my schedule. And maybe I need to do things that are going to replenish me energetically. So maybe I need more sleep. Maybe I need to work out a little more. Maybe I need some yoga, whatever that the case, some water. Usually it's water, whatever the case may be.
So
Dehydration.
I'm just gonna come out and say that I think people should go with Melissa's method over mine. Mine is far more, I said yes to all these things. I'm going to get them all done with just pushing through, not sleeping enough, and making it happen because I do say yes to too many things, not because they're not great thing, but just because I'm very excitable and I say yes and commit to something before I really fully think it through. But I am also somewhat like you mentioned on, do I need to go to a yoga class or drink water or whatever it is. Yesterday, I was dealing with some pretty heavy stuff, knew I had more stuff to do. I just dropped everything, put the leash on my dog, went for a run, came back, powered through some more stuff, went to my daughter's basketball game. She had something else going on. Lindsay always likes it when I don't bug her. So I just went back to my computer and worked for a couple more hours and powered through everything. So I think there are different approaches. I think yours is far more sensible. You can plan around it. And I think when we write the book, we'll go with the capacity math over Tony's method of just sleep less.
Okay, that's a great way to end this sentence. Listen to Melissa, don't listen to Tony, just kidding. Most of the time it's listen to Tony, not Melissa.
No, I don't.
Anyway, thank you all for listening today. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully this conversation was illuminating and helped to alleviate some of the burnout that you may be experiencing or potentially may experience in the future. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you next time on Drip Trickle Flow Flood. Thanks, everyone.